Hello, welcome or welcome back to the YarnNYarns YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Here on the channel you'll find me chatting about my adventures in knitting, spinning, crochet and weaving, all of the fibre related things. Today's video is going to be my November making plans video. If you're new to the channel, you're most welcome, but you may not have seen one of these videos before. I'm someone who loves to have a lot of projects on the needles at any given time, and sometimes I can have a tendency to procrastinate by not making choices about what I work on. So over the last couple of years, I have decided to implement this fun sort of game of chance at the start of each month. I have a set of multi-sided dice and I roll the dice to give myself some prompts, and I pick my projects based on the prompts that come up for that month. So this is going to be one of those videos and we'll be rolling the dice soon. But before we do that, I also have an added little element to my making plans whereby I ask our lovely YarnNYarns community members, you folks out there, whether you'd be interested in picking a project for me. So anyone who has said in the past that they'd be interested in picking a project, I have a little app on my phone and everyone's name's plugged into the app, and at the beginning of each month someone gets chosen and that person can either pick something from my works in progress for me to work on, or they can pick an entirely new cast on for me to work on. The world is that person's oyster and I'm happy to buy pattern and yarns if it's a new cast on and I need to get something that I don't have in my stash to make that happen. So first off I need to bring up my app and I'm going to be spinning the wheel to see who's going to be picking my November project. This might be my last making plans video for the year. I think maybe in December I will have a bit of a free-for-all and rather than roll the dice and spin the wheel, I might just try and work on as many projects as I can that are near to completion in December. I might change my mind on that, we'll see how this month goes. But yeah, for now I'm thinking that November might be the last making plans for 2024, which seems such a weird thing to say. Where did this year go? Anyway, let's spin the wheel and see who's going to be picking a project for me this month. Apologies, it took me a minute to block out the light so the camera would focus on the wheel. Anyway. That is my lovely friend Ruth, who will be picking a project for me this month. I went away with Ruth last month. I'm smiling because Ruth did indicate that she had a project in mind and she told me what that project was. So I'm wondering whether she still has that in mind, in which case it will be a new cast on. But we'll see. I'm not going to preempt. She might have changed her mind. So I'm going to get in touch with Ruth and see if she's still willing to pick a project for me. And then in a day or two's time, once Ruth has come back to me, I will let you know what she's chosen, and I shall also roll the dice for the rest of the project pick. A couple of days have passed and my lovely friend Ruth has come back to me with her project pick. And I did have a little chuckle because she did mention the project that I thought she might pick, but that project would have been a new cast on, and she said she thought it might be mean to get me to do a new cast on so close to the end of the year. I really wouldn't have minded. I do have yarn for that project and it'll probably end up being one of my 12 cast ons. But instead, Ruth has picked the sea glass tee for me, which I'm really thrilled about. I've been wanting to get back to this one for ages. I started this a couple of years ago and it's been languishing in the project bag because I need to rip back a bit. I think you can see it's quite obvious on the camera here that I got to the point where I split for the sleeves. There's only short sleeves because it's a t-shirt design. But I changed the way I was switching out my yarns under the body because I thought it might make things a little bit quicker for me. But it has resulted in sort of blocks of colour and pooling that I just don't like, particularly in comparison. It's a bit tricky because it is rolling up on the cord here. But in comparison to the top of the t-shirt, I think you can see there's kind of big clumps of colour. Just try and hold this up in a way that you're going to be able to see. There you go, that's a bit better. So yeah, down here and across here, I just don't like it. So I am going to rip back a few rows, maybe an inch or so, probably slightly more to be honest. However much that is, 2-3 inches, I don't know. So I'm going to rip back to that point where I split for the sleeves and switch back to alternating my skeins how I was doing before. And then it's just a case of knitting down the body, putting on the rib, and it'll be finished. So this project was on my list of things that I'd maybe like to finish by the end of the year. I did a little video for folks over on my Patreon where I went through all of my project bags and tried to set a few priorities for the last couple of months of the year, and this was one of the outside contenders. So yeah, I'm really happy to be getting back to this. I've got a huge bag of yarn that I'm using, various skeins and colours in there. You probably won't be able to see it. Can't hold that up properly. This is going to generate a lot of leftovers. But hey, that's just the way it goes, isn't it? But yeah, Ruth's pick for November is the Sea Glass. Ruth has recently been to Rhinebeck and she very kindly has bought me a braid of fibre, which I haven't seen yet, and she's challenged me to get that spun up as well. So when that arrives, it's not here yet, I won't be here for at least another week or so, then I'll be adding that to my November projects list as well. But I never really count spinning in these videos. This is just all about the knitting and the crochet. You can assume that there'll be spinning going on in the background. Okay, so with Ruth's pick done, it's time to roll the dice and see what else we get to pick for November. A quick little disclaimer before I start rolling the dice. I have my lovely stack of prompt cards that were a gift from Simone, whose channel I'll link below, and I accidentally spilt my tea and it only went on one card, but it happened to be card number 1, which sits on the top of the pile. So yeah, I'm afraid my lovely stack of cards now got a lovely tea stain on the top, but they get used all the time. These things happen. I'm a bit miffed with myself, but it didn't ruin the stack of cards or anything. It was just that one card. Oh well.
Aren't meant to be broken. Take me to where the mountains can kill. People are free and time stands still. Whatever makes my heart come to life or fall apart. Show me the best, the worst of the world. I hope that's the life that you prefer.
Okay, the dice have spoken and we've got some interesting prompts again, and maybe a couple that we haven't seen this year, a couple that we probably have. But I'm going to start with the one that's going to be the easiest for me to pick. That's number 17, and the prompt on the back of that is sweater. So it's going to be another 2 garment month for me in November because I'll be working on the Sea Glass, but this was a really easy choice for me. I'm going to be working on my Raya. I've spent quite a lot of time in 2024 in the company of this sweater. It's a pattern that featured in the very last issue of Pom Pom magazine, and it's very interesting sideways construction, and the sweater has this fringed bottom. So I literally have no idea how I'm going to feel about wearing this once it's finished. I think I'm going to love it. I'm not sure. It's just like the fringing is the sort of question mark for me. But I'm knitting this in a combination of my hand spun, which are the sort of coloured yarns, the blues and the purples and the pinks that you can see, and also some merino, which is that background sort of pinky brown colour. I recently finished knitting the front of the sweater and I'm starting to work back across the back. So I haven't got very far, but I've knit the sleeve cuff. It's, again, more like a t-shirt. It doesn't have full length sleeves. It's like a drop shoulder kind of construction. So the sleeves are relatively long, maybe 3/4 length or elbow length, I can't remember now. But yeah, I've done that bit and I'm just working my way back across. So I'm currently increasing my stitch count for the sort of shoulder and neck shaping. If I hold this up, there's a lot of knitting to go. So here is where I am, and I need to work my way all the way back across here. I don't think that's going to be possible in a month, particularly given that this is quite a slow knit. I'm changing yarns every couple of rows and I'm cutting my yarns and creating this fringe. I'd really like to get close, but that's going to be 2 4-ply t-shirts or sweaters I'm working on this month, and both fairly slow knits, so it's going to be interesting to see how far I get with either of these, but I definitely want to make some progress. Raya is my pick for the sweater prompt. Next prompt is 8, and that is Multicolor. I don't think we've had this one yet in 2024. We are surging towards the end of the year, and some of these prompts have come up multiple times and others not at all. So yeah, it's always fun to see where the dice leads every month. Of course, that's fairly self-explanatory. Use something that's multicoloured, more than one colour. My first instinct was to pull out my traveller shawl because I really want to get that done, and I'm working on that in some hand spun yarn. But it's a huge shawl and it's a lot of knitting, so I backtracked on that, given that I'm working on 2 sweater projects. I don't want to take on a third large project. Instead, I'm going for something that's much, much smaller, but I think there's a possibility that I could get this done. And these are my YarnNYarns mitts. I'll have all my projects linked below. It is a lovely fingerless mitten pattern, and I cast this on for our 12 cast-ons back in January, and this is how far I got on the first day, and I haven't had an opportunity to pick these up since, which is a crying shame. But last winter I wore a pair of fingerless mitts that I'd made pretty much every day, so I would really like to have another couple of pairs so that I can add them to rotation, so I'm not wearing through a pair really quickly. I started these YarnNYarns mitts, and they've got this beautiful little fox design on the back of the hand. So yeah, I've done sort of the cuff part, and I'm ready to go back to those, and they should be a relatively quick knit. I'm using, what am I using? I think I'm using some lovely Cartrev yarn, which, yeah, I think this is Cartrev, a lovely Welsh produced yarn. And this is John Arbon Harvest Hues, I think. I remember that was gifted to me by my lovely friend Mandy. Yes, Harvest Hues, in the Bracken colourway. These are my pick for my multicolour prompt. Next up, number 6. And that is the Bring Some Joy prompt. And it's basically just work on anything that's going to make me happy. Now, I have a new cast on that I've shared on Instagram but I haven't yet talked about here on the channel. It's the 3 Seasons sweater, which is a relatively new pattern release by Wool & Pine Designs, which coincidentally is the same designer as the sea glass tee. It's a beautiful sweater which has a combination of cables and lace, and as I say, it was released just a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago probably, when this goes up, and I immediately fell in love with it. I bought the pattern and then I bought some yarn. That's very naughty. I just couldn't resist. I do often get tempted by new pattern releases, and sometimes I even buy the patterns and then I never end up casting them on, or not for ages. But this one just really spoke to me, so I bought the pattern yarn and cast on. So that is bringing me a lot of joy at the moment. However, I don't think working on 3 sweaters in a month is going to mean that I make much progress on any of them, so I'm probably going to try and resist working on that. I don't know, I might just have to set myself some goals around it, because I'm obsessed with knitting it as I'm recording this. Oh yeah, I don't know yet. I think I'm going to hang fire on that one and just see how the first couple of weeks of November go, and then choose something for that prompt as I go along. So that leaves the 4th and final prompt, number 11. And that's something that I cast on before 2024. My sea glass would definitely count for that. I think that's the only one of my picks so far that would count. If I end up finding that it's a bit tricky to juggle the 2 garment projects that I've got, then I might cheat and double up and say that the sea glass also counts for that. However, I would like to finish another project that I've got. Coincidentally happens to be another pair of fingerless mitts. These are the Lunar mitts, and was originally released in a previous issue of the Shetland Wool Week magazine, and it's actually a pair of lace weight with a lace pattern. As you can see, I've almost finished the first mitt. I've got my waste yarn there waiting patiently to be pulled out to put in the thumb. These have been on the needles for way too long. But knitting with lace weight is not my favourite thing, though this is my hand spun, so that brings a bit of extra joy that might not have been there if it was a commercial lace weight yarn. Why can't I say lace weight? So I've got my second mitt cast on, but barely. I know once I get going on this second mitt though, it really shouldn't take too long. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd really like to concentrate on those Shawnack mitts and my 2 garments that I've picked out. So I think if I manage to finish the Shawnack mitts, I'll pick these up. If I don't, then as I say, I'll cheat slightly and double up that prompt and say the sea glass counts for that. Yeah, that's it. My November picks. 2 pairs of fingerless mitts and 2 sweaters. And maybe something else for the Bring Some Joy. I'll have to throw something else in there, but I'd really like to make some progress on those 2 garments. Maybe my Bring Some Joy could be continuing to work on scrappy socks. I don't actually have a pair of scrappy socks on the needles at the moment, so I need to cast a new pair on. Currently finishing up a pair of just plain vanilla socks, so I want to get those finished before I cast on a pair of scrappy socks. But once those are finished, which they should be in the next few days, then a pair of scrappy socks will be next on the sock needles. So that might be my Bring Some Joy project, because working through some of my scrap yarns using up my leftovers has definitely brought me some joy this year in the last few months. So yeah, those could count for that. Anyway, just waffling now. I feel like one of the whole reasons for doing these prompts is to, you know, help me decisively pick my projects. I'm not being very decisive this month. Oh, it's just one of those things. Obviously not in a particularly decisive mood today. That's fine. We have some projects to work on. It might not be the greatest variety, but hopefully we'll end up with some good progress. Let me know, of course, in the comments below what you'll be working on in the coming weeks. Are you playing along with my prompts? I know a few people do. I think most of these are fairly, yeah, I think they're all self-explanatory. Before 2024, if you're someone who doesn't have any old whips, works in progress hanging around, just pick your oldest project. Bring some joy, just whatever's gonna make you happy. Cast on something new, whatever, or pick the project that you're most excited about at the moment. Multicolor, anything that's variegated yarn or uses more than one colour. And then sweater. If you're not a sweater knitter, then maybe just the biggest project that you've got on the needles. Maybe you've got a big shawl on the go. Have you got your Stephen West mystery knit along to finish? That is definitely the equivalent of sweater knitting. So yeah, interpret the prompts as you wish. As always, it's all just for fun. I will of course be back here soon with some more making content, so I hope you will join me for the next video. But until we do get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.